The age of social media, the age of consuming everything on demand when you want it, streaming, skipping commercials, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of the above. Doesn't it seem like, in a lot of ways, oh my God, it's fantastic. In the 90s, they were talking about the future, and they're right. It is amazing. It's amazing. It's incredible. Your phone. Think about maybe the first computer you ever got back in the day when a household computer became a thing in the 90s and early 2000s. And yeah, think about that time. Think about what your computer could do then and what your phone can do now. It outpaces it so much. Several years ago, like 2, 3, maybe even 4 years ago, Patton Oswalt, the comedian, got on stage and pointed this out to a bunch of his comedic peers, saying, just do it. Be yourself. There's never been a better time than this digital age to make something of yourself as a comic. You can get yourself out there with Twitter. You can get yourself out there with Facebook and YouTube. And he held up his phone and he's like, I'm holding in my hand more filmmaking capability than Orson Welles had for his movies. So the digital age, truly incredible. Very impressive stuff going on. For sure. For sure. And parts of it are amazing. Parts of it, though, doesn't it feel as though the digital age amplifies some of the worst traits in human nature 1,000-fold? The willingness with which people are leaping headlong with vigorous abandon into arguments on message boards, spouting off like confident authorities on things that they have no clue about, really. They just know, I'm going to be right. What's that old expression? Can't come to bed. Someone's wrong on the internet. Got to stay up and argue with a faceless stranger on Facebook. And people get that much more aggressive and that much more nasty, and they let things fly in ways that they never would in the past. And I'm telling you now, as we continue in this digital age, temper yourselves with a little humanity and reason. And remember the words of Doris M. Smith, who said, arguing with a fool proves that there are two.
This is the 80s Show on iHeartRadio.
Say ho, ho, say ho, 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 ho. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Say ho, ho, say ho, whoa, ho, whoa. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the
show. Welcome. Welcome to the Happy to Shoot a White Guy show. What are we talking about? Oh, it's exactly what it sounds like. Happy to shoot a white guy. Some cops recently, and we'll get into exactly where this went down, how it happened, and what went on. Some cops recently shot a white guy. I believe an unarmed white guy. They didn't know if he was black or white, I don't believe. They just know they had to take him down. And when they did take him down, they're like, whew, oh, good. He's white. we won't have a Baltimore, we won't have a Ferguson on our hands. Happy to shoot a white guy. This is where we're at right now in America. If you're a cop, if you shoot someone, oh God, I hope they're white. Didn't get a look at who they were. It was dark. I know that they were threatening other people's lives. I know that we probably saved a life by taking him out. But yeah, oh, what a relief. He shot a white dude. This is true. This is a thing that's happened. I believe in Kentucky. Anyways, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. We'll also catch up with Funkhauser, and we'll catch up with Funkhauser in the events of today, our segment, My Witness News. There's a piece of news today about a guy who has sex to his son's music. Yeah, I know. That doesn't make your blood curdle a little bit. That's where you and I are different. You can join in the show, join in the conversation by tweeting me at ADSXE. Tweet super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser at FunkFM is where we be. Hey, how much P.G. Wodehouse have you read? it might not be something that's ever come across your radar. The guy is, well, he sort of had his day, I suppose, in the 1920s or thereabouts, which is the better part of 100 years ago. So he's not exactly current, and he was English, so he didn't, I think, translate to the American side of the pond as well as maybe he might have in this day and age, what with sort of promotion and digital media and all the above, that in some senses actually does bring gaps of understanding closer together and whatnot. But P.G. Wodehouse, he wrote a bunch of things, most notably Jeeves and Wooster, the Jeeves and Wooster stories, which are absolutely incredible. If you don't feel like doing any of that pesky reading stuff, there's a series called Jeeves and Wooster with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. Stephen Fry being the guy who, well, I don't know how to describe him. He's just Stephen Fry. You might know him as the narrator from Harry Potter. Hugh Laurie, as House from House. What a lot of people don't realize is that Hugh Laurie, before he became House, before he became a dramatic actor, he was part of a hilarious comedy double act in England with Stephen Fry. And one of the many things they did together was a dramatization of Jeeves and Wooster by the unparalleled P.G. Wodehouse. And P.G. Wodehouse has been likened to Shakespeare, except he's easy. He's accessible. You can understand what the hell he's talking about. But he has a command over the English language that is second to none. And I'll tell you why that's so important. And something that should be absorbed at any cost in just a little bit. The majesty of language when we come back.
In the two-seater flitter, it's you and
iHeartRadio puts the spotlight on Aerosmith. While Aerosmith was recording their sixth album in 1979, Joe Perry abruptly quit, and Tyler's drug use got so bad that he collapsed on stage in Portland, Maine in 1980. The next year, Brad Whitford also left the band. But in 1984, Perry and Whitford met Tyler after one of his performances, and both rejoined the band. With them back on board, Aerosmith's big comeback came in 1986 when they appeared on Run DMC's cover of Walk This Way.
She told me to walk this way. Walk this way. Well, just give me your keys.
Unfortunately, drugs were still a problem, but their new manager demanded that they all get clean to take advantage of their new popularity. They did, and 1987's Permanent Vacation was, according to Tyler, the first album they ever recorded sober. Aerosmith released Get a Grip in 1992, their first album to debut at number 1. They performed at Woodstock 94 and appeared in Wayne's World 2. All things Aerosmith, info, music, and more are on iHeartRadio, keyword Aerosmith.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Mike Rutherford to talk about why he felt the documentary Genesis, Some of the Parts, was worthy of production.
People forget from that one band, school band, you had the Gabriel career, the Collins, the Mechanics career, and then you put songs together. This is the key. You see a list of songs and you kind of go, In the Air Tonight, Invisible Touch, Living Years, Biko, and you kind of go, that's a great combination of songwriting. And so in a way, this documentary tries to sort of cement that a little bit. Because I meet people still these days who say to me, you mean you're the Mike and the Mechanics? They don't tie it in all the time. So in a way, this documentary, I think, helps do that.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Mike Rutherford and all your favorite artists.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving your music a savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving your music a savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me. Hey, you, what's that sound? Coming so loud from your radio dial. AD, be getting down when you're rocking the jams. Here I am, going back once again. I'm ruling all city like the king I am.
So yeah, who are your favorite authors? Do you have favorite writers, people that you really enjoy? I don't have a ton. And you know what? In this day and age where, oh gosh, that expression Mark Twain had, that the man who doesn't read is just as bad as the man who can't. I feel like that's me all the time. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I used to read constantly. Now, I just don't have the time, and I honestly feel like part of my brain is getting slack like an unused muscle. Love to read, but who has the time? Not me. Not to like be not to whip out my version of soul destroying drudgery on the table and compare it to yours, but yesterday started at 9 a.m., 8:45 when I got here, and I finally finished up all the work I needed to do at 2 the next morning. So there wasn't really a chance to go home and relax with an improving book. There wasn't really a chance to go and edify myself with a written word when I got home. I just sort of dragged myself into bed and went, oh, God, and then passed out. And it's sort of like, how I go through life. So I find myself with almost no time whatsoever to read, which is like, oh, God, so disappointing because the words of Mark Twain ring in my ear. I'm no better than a man that can't read because I don't read. But I've recently rediscovered the work of P.G. Wodehouse, one of my favorite authors growing up, an English humorist. Everything's light, everything's fluffy. It's a great escape. It's happy comedy from a bygone era. And if you don't want to read his books, do yourself a favor, watch the Jeeves and Wooster series with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. This guy's command of the English language, P.G. Wodehouse's command of the English language, was so stunning and effective that it blows my mind. And it's a great reminder to me of the fact that those big words, those SAT words, that proper use of the English language, this marvelous expressive tool that we've been given to help us make our way in the world, it's becoming a bit of a lost art. And I wildly recommend you take in some of his books or some of the TV adaptations because the language in it is beautiful. And it was a reminder to me of what true command of a language can do for you. See, there's lots of people that use language in an elitist sort of way. Those folks that will slip SAT words into conversations so you know that they know them and therefore feel intellectually dwarfed by them. But when someone truly knows how to expressively use the English language and all its myriad tools, that can be an incredibly comforting thing. When you have a command of the English language that allows you to completely express yourself, that makes other people around you feel comfortable. And I've never come across that in a more profound way than when reading Wodehouse or when watching a TV adaptation of Wodehouse. Please do yourself a favor. You want the English language used at its very best. You want to be exposed to that. Well, first and foremost, you can clearly listen to this show, he says, as he ums and ahs his way through the first segment. No, seriously, if you want to be exposed to the best use of the English language I've ever come across in my life, take in some Wodehouse. And then take what you learn from that off into the world. Know how to truly express yourself. Not only will it give you great comfort because you feel as though you're being heard, but it'll give the people around you comfort because they feel like they can understand you. Ludwig Wittgenstein said, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." I think it's true. Of course, there's also a great deal that can be said by pushing play on some music, as Funkhauser has become well acquainted with working on this show. All right, then, Funkhauser. You know what? Let's stick with this as we go over our segment, My Witness News and the events of today. In no way, shape, or form fair, certainly not balanced. Funkhauser, what's going on in the world, and how are you?
Hello. I feel so dumb now. Thanks a lot.
Why?
I go crack open a book.
Well, I'm not professing to be a reader. Were you a big reader when you were a kid?
No.
No?
Nah. I mean, not. They make you read like two books a year in book class. I read those 2 books. So I did that, but you're not going to catch me with a piece of wood in my hand in the summer. Well, not paper.
I don't know. Every time you talk to Funkhauser about his life, he leaves out these details. Like, found out the other day, Funkhauser's grandfather, what was his name?
Wally Black.
Wally Black, which meant that for a while, Funkhauser had the potential of going through life with the name Barry Black. Would have been awesome, but Barry Fun. You had 2 awesome name options. Barry Black and Barry Funkhauser are both excellent names.
It would have been cool to hyphenate them, but
Barry Black Funkhauser.
Yeah.